True with Guns America, we are at the 2025 SIG NEXT event, and I've got Eric here, and we are going to talk about the brand new SIG P211. It's a double stack 1911, 2011, whatever you want to call it, but it's been a long time coming. SIG has been making handguns for a long time, and they've been making 1911s for a long time, and so it sort of just follows, especially with as popular as double stack 1911s are right now, that SIG would make one. And of course, everybody wants to know, hey, what did SIG do? Because SIG generally goes all out when they do something, and you're not, well, I'll just say it, you're a little late to the party. There's a lot of other people that have been making these for a few years, and so I think people are going to be really interested to see, hey, what sort of innovation, what kind of things have you done? Why is this better than what's already on the market? So before we get into like some of that real deep dive stuff, let's just talk about the real basic features that we have here. This is a full-size gun that, at least in the first offering, it's called the P211. And I think the first feature that we should talk about is it takes a SIG P320 mag. Correct. And that's pretty significant. So I've been shooting 2011s for a long time. I used to shoot 3-gun very competitively, and that's what I would run as a 2011. And the magazines themselves are expensive. You buy tuning kits and springs, and you do voodoo magic on them, and you run special coatings inside them, and you put grams followers in them, and you make them so they don't lock back because it might cause a malfunction, and you're trying to fit that one extra round in, so you're literally cutting your springs, and you're running on the ragged edge is how we've, in the past run 2011. So the fact that this uses a stock P320 mag with a base pad that holds 23 plus 1 rounds is pretty huge. Yep. In fact, so why don't you speak to that? Why did you guys decide to do that instead of a traditional 2011 mag?
Yeah, so when we approach a new platform like this at SIG, like you said, we've done 1911s before. You hit the nail on the head with the 2011 magazines. And when you go into a new platform like this, the magazine is the heart of the gun. If you go back to 365, that was a magazine project before it was a pistol project, right? So using a 320 magazine and the volume of testing and the reliability evaluation that we've done on the 320s and M17s made the 320 magazine kind of no questions asked of that's got to be the source of ammunition for the pistol. It's the right dimensions. It has aftermarket support there, and the reliability is there. The downfall in a lot of the testing that we've done in the 2011 world is magazine-related stoppages, to your point. So a lot of those get just completely eliminated as soon as you use a reliable magazine that doesn't need tuning based on your gun or your ammo or any other modifications that you've done.
Okay, so we're going to get real nerdy in a minute, and I'm going to ask you things like, hey, can you over-insert this mag and break your ejector off like you can on a 2011, normal to traditional 2011? But before we get there, let's just quickly talk about this. So this is an all-steel gun. It does have a 3D printed comp on the front, and we're going to ask Eric about that in a second. He'll talk about that, but it's got the night sights on it. It's got a rear backup sight. It's cut for the SIG lock system, which allows you to actually mount this optic from the underside of the slide. So this is a fully enclosed optic. In fact, it's basically the same thing as the M17 that the military is fielding, fully enclosed so you don't get stuff in it. It's mounted really low where it co-witnesses. It's got a full pick rail on the bottom. It's a steel frame, but it has, is this a G10 grip?
That's a G10 grip from Hogue, yeah.
Okay, so, and there's going to be different, I saw some different colors of this that are custom, that are available, so you can really change the texture up or the colors if you want to on that. It's going to, it has a traditional grip safety on it. It's got a fully ambi thumb safety. It's got a skeletonized hammer. It's got good serrations here in the front. Everything else is pretty kind of standard 2011. It's undercut under here. It looks like it uses a SIG style mag release where it's kind of got the split thing going on there. Has a steel magwell to add weight, as I'm assuming what we've got going on there. Yep. Anyway, so that's sort of the superficial flat trigger. And this is, speaking of triggers, I've been a Series 70 guy my whole life. You can get them really light. I run my 2011s at 2 pounds, and they're just super short, super crisp, super short reset. This is a Series 80 trigger, which for those of you that don't know the difference, that basically means that this firing pin is captured and this is drop safe. So you're not going to have inertia cause that firing pin to hit a primer and set off a round if you were to drop this. So generally speaking, real purists don't love Series 80 triggers because they're a little gritty. They're usually a lot heavier, but I'll be honest, this is one of the best Series 80 triggers I have ever felt. In fact, I would not have known had I not been told that it was a Series 80 trigger. So kudos to you guys on that. Good job. So let's start by talking about this 3D printed comp. So what can you tell us about this, Eric?
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier, and you kind of, again, hit the nail on the head with the, what is SIG going to bring to the table, you know, in the 2011 market. It's been growing in popularity. There's a lot of players there. A lot of things have been done. So one of the things that we brought to the table, along with the reliability of the 320 magazines, is the performance of the Compensator, a super flat shooting 2011. So that Compensator was actually designed by some of our suppressor engineers, and as you know, some of our suppressors are 3D printed. So designing a 3D printed mechanism that diverts gas to do things, right? So the Compensator is designed in order to maximize the gas coming out of that muzzle to push that muzzle down and get back on target faster for faster follow-up shots. So the way it's done is what you can't get out of a machined part is in the bottom of the Compensator when the gases come out of the muzzle, they go up, but they also go down into a chamber in the bottom of that comp that takes up where the guide rod would normally be. And they get slowed down and diverted and then up out these side ports that you see on either side here. So that kind of smooths out that curve of recoil.
So immediately you get gas that comes out the top, but it's a little bit of a delayed effect because that gas has to travel up and down and back up before it comes out the side.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So this is a bull barrel, as we can see here. Is there an option for people that don't want a comp? Like there's some people that are just adamantly opposed to them. What's the story for that?
Yeah, so at launch, when this is available, we'll also have a barrel block available, which basically is just the same thing as a comp, but without any ports. And that makes it available for use for limited optics if you didn't want to shoot open. Right? So that's going to be available as an accessory by itself or mounted to a barrel very soon after we launch the pistol.
Okay. So if you wanted to just swap that off, how hard is it to get this comp off? Is it difficult?
No, it's a screw on the side. It's not a ton of torque. It's a 15-inch pound screw. And then there's a taper pin and a spring in there that keeps pressure on it, so you're never going to lose. It's going to be clocked in the same place every time. And it's never going to go kind of out of position, and it's pretty easy to take on and off. It's kind of a tri-lug system in there that keeps it on, so it's not a threaded barrel either. So for threaded barrel sensitive states, it's not an issue.
Okay. All right, so I want to go back to reliability and testing, and I'm just going to be brutally honest here. Anytime we do a video review on a SIG product, we get people in the comments that are saying, hey, SIG doesn't test their stuff, they use us to test it. Let's talk about that. Did you guys just decide, hey, we're inviting the media out to check out new products, we're going to make a gun this last week? How long has this been in process? What kind of testing have you done on this pistol?
Yeah, so here at the next event, we actually have a demo going on today, like deep diving into that, like showing the entire list that's printed out in a huge piece of paper of all the tests that we go through on every firearm, not just this one. And we have that same requirement for every pistol, every firearm that we go through, pistol, rifle, whatever, whether it's a 365 or a 211. So for this one specifically, going back to when we started working on this, I mean, more than 2 years ago, we started digging into the engineering of it. And then now it's now we're getting it launched into production. So through that period of time, various iterations, trying to do things with the comp, making sure that magazine's good to go, making improvements to the overall system, not just the magazine and the compensator, but the system as kind of a 2011 gun, but has all of the improvements that you might not see in a normal 2011. So with that comes part compatibility, right? So some of these things aren't going to be compatible because they aren't true 2011 parts. But for a good reason, right? They'll last longer, they'll live longer. One of them is the grip module to frame connection. Those are different. All for the reason of beefing it up and making it live longer. We have not had a grip separate from a frame in any of our testing with this design that we've had, for example.
So if you guys know about traditional 2011s, they actually were a polymer. So there's a steel frame that came right here, and then the rest of this was a polymer grip that came on and screwed on. And there was issues with it detaching from right under here by the trigger guard. There's issues with it getting thin in here and flexing and dropping magazines, just basically wearing out. Guys would stipple them and then they'd get brittle and break and crack. And they're like $200 plus parts to replace those plastic grip modules. And so, yeah, this is a steel frame. I mean, and you got these G10 grips around here. So I think that's an improvement personally. I like it.
Yep.
I had a chance to shoot it yesterday, and I thought it was one of the flattest shooting stock 2011s I've ever shot. I mean, obviously, I've shot some race guns that are really set up for open and that are running on the ragged edge and are running like, you know, high power factor, really fast, hot, super performance type 9mm ammo that you can't actually buy.
Yep.
And, you know, they can run a comp pretty hard, but this is like on that level of open pistols. I mean, it's pretty impressive how well this comp works. So let's talk about the testing. How many rounds do you guys have through this pistol at this point? Or not this specific pistol, but this new platform?
Through the platform. I mean, I don't have an exact number off the top of my head, but at this point, it's hundreds of thousands of rounds on these platforms. So on a single pistol, gone upwards of, I think on a single frame, just a durability test, the serialized part, we've gone up past 50,000, and not because it broke, we just stopped the test because we got up past 50,000.
Okay.
So other, for example, other full guns, we brought up past 30,000 rounds, and then for small parts is we usually have a requirement of a minimum of 5,000 rounds for each, like small parts, springs, changing out things like that. But again, well past 10,000, 15,000, even up toward 20K before needing to really replace anything.
Okay. And look, that's something when you run a custom 2011, I mean, you're honestly always replacing recoil springs, mag springs, trigger parts. Like you set a trigger at 2 pounds and eventually if you don't change springs out, it will go full auto on you or break or quit on you in a match. And so those are really good numbers that you're telling me for, you know, longevity. I mean, this is a high-end gun, and you're going to have to expect at some point to change some of those parts out. But so when you guys were testing, did you test this against any of your competitors? I mean, obviously there's some really popular people making 2011s right now, and they're popular. We've seen law enforcement even carrying them, SWAT teams. Did you? I mean, I'm not going to ask you who you tested against, but you did.
Yeah. So in the beginning of the project, I mean, this is a category. This has become a category of pistol that. Kind of what was a niche category before, and now I would argue that it's not anymore. So digging into that and SIG not having a product in that category, we needed to do a baseline. We needed to know where everybody else stacked up. So we did that. All your favorite, 2011 brands, all good guns for all their own reasons. But we did do that, and the metric that we use when we're doing reliability testing is called MRBS, which is mean rounds between stoppages.
Okay. So
it's how many rounds can I go without having some sort of a stoppage, a class 1 stoppage we call it, that I can tap rack or do an immediate action drill to clear. So that's the main reliability metric that we use. And so through our competitor testing, the average that we saw was right around the ballpark of 300 MRBS. For most of the main competitors.
Okay, and so these are straight out of the box. You guys just went to a store or ordered these guns and straight out of the box, not been tuned up a gunsmith. And so on average, every 300-ish?
300 rounds, yeah.
300 rounds, you're having some sort of a failure to eject.
Typically, with this platform, it was mag-related stoppages.
Yeah, in fact, if you guys know anything about 2011s, I mean, I have probably $1,000 worth of 2011 mags, and you have to tune them. They have to be bent. There's some companies that are making ones that are supposed to run right out of the box, but you're talking about $90 to $120 for a mag tube that's polished and is more reliable. So it's been one of the downsides to this. In fact, it's even one of the downsides to the original 1911 is magazines.
Right.
So, all right, so you're seeing around 300 rounds, most of them are mag related.
Yep.
Where did you guys land at in your comparison and testing?
So in our comparison testing, that was kind of the average across the board. And then we had one competitor stand out. Again, not going to name it. All of them are good guns, quality firearms for their own reasons. But this one actually stood out as almost double that number, but they use a 320 magazine. So it's kind of a data point, right? That you follow the line, and it's kind of like you get rid of the magazine, and your reliability goes up.
Okay.
So between utilizing 320 magazine, using this new 23 rounder, which The magazine itself is a 21 round tube, so it's no different. We didn't change anything on it. All we did was add a +2 base pad.
Okay.
But through that magazine and other refinements in the platform itself, you know, improving the trigger mechanism, getting that trigger bow to go around the magazine so it has to be a little bit wider, getting consistent sear springs on that and everything. So through a lot of work on our engineering team to get that smooth trigger pull that's still a Series 80, we were able to increase our reliability numbers on this to an average sitting right around 1,600. So every 1,600 rounds, you would have some sort of a stoppage you would need to clear with an immediate action drill.
Okay. I know that sounds horrible, at least it does to me, but like, I think that's probably pretty phenomenal for this platform.
Yes.
And apparently it is based on what you guys tested.
Yes.
Let's talk about recoil springs. How's this sprung?
So this ships with a 8-pound spring in the gun, and it's also shipping with a 10-pound spring in the box. And they're 1911 springs, so that you can tune them however you want with aftermarket springs. We did it that way for, you know, your full range of ammo compatibility. So it ships with springs that are good to go for your typical target loads, competition loads, light power factor loads. And then the 10-pound, you can put that in, and it'll run everything up past +P and until you start needing to get weird springs for super hot loads.
Do you know what mainspring you've got in?
Oh, I don't know the poundage for the mainspring. No,
okay,
sorry.
That's all right. I was just curious if you knew. So it comes with both of those. How many mags does it come with? 3.
So 2 320, 21 rounders, and then that 23 rounder.
Okay. And I asked you earlier, I told you I was going to come back to this. 2011s, you can over-insert mags sometimes, and you can break off your ejector, which is this piece of metal right here. It's what kicks your rounds out. It's a really bad thing to have happen.
Yes.
Can you over-insert these mags on this?
That new base pad and sleeve that's on that does have an over-travel stop, so that will stop up on the mag wall.
Okay, so if I can shove this in here as hard as I want to, and as you can see, it didn't even come close to that ejector.
Yep.
I don't know how well you can see in there, but okay, that's an improvement for sure.
Yep.
And then let's talk about the trigger, this Series 80 trigger for a second. So talk to me about what you guys have done on this, because it does not feel like a Series 80 trigger to me. I would guess that this is under 4 pounds just pressing it, and yet it feels really short, really crisp. The reset's really short on it. I mean, you barely move. You can see here, I'm going to let it reset. So you ready? It's all the way back. There's the click. There it is again. I mean, it's like nothing. It's like pushing a little button. So talk to me about this trigger. How did you guys do that?
Yeah, so we actually played around with a lot of different ways to get a Series 80 and minimize the friction out of the trigger so you don't feel it, right? So we had a couple different pretty innovative ideas. In the end, a lot of them didn't really pan out or kind of opened up all new issues. So we kind of went back to really a tried and true Series 80 type lever, rotating lever. And what we really did was just kind of get better part quality, smoothing out a lot of the component parts and pieces, you know, tumbling parts, deburring parts, and smoothing out the geometries to just minimize friction as much as possible. So it's really like, it's not like really an innovative design in terms of how it functions. It's just kind of attention to detail and just making it work really, really well all the time. Okay.
Do you know what this gun weighs?
I don't have an exact number, unfortunately. It should be, it's about 45 ounces.
Okay. Well, we'll get one in, and we'll do some of our own testing on it, and we'll give you weight later when we do a full review on it and accuracy testing. But overall, I'm impressed. I shot it a bunch, and it is very, very flat. Like I said, for a production style gun, it's probably the flattest, most effective comp I've shot. Trigger feels great. It's really nice having this red dot mounted super low. I think time will tell, but it sounds like you guys have done your due diligence on parts testing. You know, I know one thing that's going to get asked, and maybe there's some misconception about it, and so you can address it. But are there any MIM parts in this gun?
Yeah, so it's no secret, right? SIG uses a lot of MIM parts. We've been doing it for a long time, and we are very good at it.
Okay.
So in the early prototype stages of these guns, we do use machine parts, and it's really just more consistent for us at higher volumes to use MIM. And through our testing and evaluation, that our standards, you know, our standards are our standards, right? You still need to meet those part quality expectations, part life expectations. We are able to achieve all of that with the quality of MIM that we have these days. MIM may not have always been what it is now, but now it is not just an art, it is a science, and it's very robust.
Okay, so just so you guys know, almost all of the production 2011s, unless you go to like a custom gun maker, are going to have MIM parts in them at this point. Like pretty much everybody is doing it, unless you go get a full custom, you know, $6,000 gun. And I think it's arguable that whether or not those machine parts are actually better. Are there times when they're not?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the material you machine a part out of, your machine part is dependent on the material you're machining it out of, right? And there can still be voids. The heat treat can be not exactly correct. There can be issues with those parts that MIM actually brings a level of stability to a lot of that, because it's the same. It's powdered metal, right? That gets melted into a mold, and it's very repeatable. So you're not at the whim of the makeup of the raw material you're machining out of, because it's the same material going into the mold every single time.
Okay.
And if your heat treat's consistent, the parts are consistent.
Okay, so I don't know how much you can talk about this. I have no idea whether you can or not, but obviously we've seen it from every other SIG model of gun ever, is that you come out with a sort of a base model, and then eventually you end up with like smaller version, a bigger version. What can you speak to what we might expect next, or can we expect more out of this platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So the P211, the GTO is just the first, right, model of a whole new family of pistols. So the single action only double stack pistols, I don't see that going away anytime soon. I don't think you do either.
No, it's a really popular gun right now.
Yes, extremely. And so one of the reasons we actually went with the high-end model first was complexity. So we want to learn as much as we can as fast as possible, right? I won't say it's easy, but it's not as complex to just make a 5-inch gun or make a 4 1/4 gun with a polymer grip.
Okay.
If you go to the complex thing first, learn as much as possible. That means your follow-on models that are, less complex are going to be that much more robust. So that's really one of the big reasons we did that.
So price point wise, we're not going to go into that too much here as far as like tell you, because YouTube doesn't love us talking about that, but we're kind of middle ground here.
I'd say we're smack right in the middle of where a 2011 should be priced. I mean, they're not cheap guns, right? It's a very expensive category of pistol. So if you're looking at 2011s, this is right in the middle of your price range. Yeah,
this is certainly not bottom of the barrel, but it's certainly a way higher quality than what you're going to get at bottom of the barrel. And obviously, we all know you can spend a lot of money on custom ones.
Yeah,
so
I mean, that's kind of the idea, is the feature set you're getting at that point is a lot. There's a lot of gun for that.
So barrel lockup is really pretty much perfect on this model. Obviously, this is a sample size of 1, but the barrel lockup is really tight. It is a bull barrel, so there's some advantages to that when it comes time for things to lock up here. How is this to tear apart, take down, clean? Like, what is the process? Because it's a little different depending on what parts were used to make these.
Sure. So it's a little simpler than a 1911. It's kind of like a hybrid between a 1911 and a 226. So you pull out that takedown lever, but the whole slide comes out the front, and you don't have to worry about plungers flying anywhere or anything like that. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward.
Well, when we get one in, we'll tear it apart. We probably won't show you tearing it apart, but we will, and we'll show you the parts and pieces individually. We won't get into that today. This video has probably been long enough, but is there anything that I've asked you about that you wish that I would have, or that you want to point out that I should have thought of asking you? Or
I think we covered it all. I mean, we went through the compensator and how that makes it super flat shooting, the reliability of the 320 mag. And how much you're getting for your money. That's the story, is the performance and the reliability.
Okay, we'll be getting one in, doing a full test on it with groups and different ammo, and see what our actual experience with it is. But so far, it looks pretty impressive. I'm pretty excited about this. So I hope that it's everything that we hope or think that it is right now. So, guys, we appreciate you watching. Please leave us comments if there's things you'd like us to check out on this when we finally get one in our hand. You guys already have this in production, so
they're building right now.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, we should be seeing them pretty soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you on the next video.